All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Tonight, I just wanted to do something special because this whole project started on just me trying to get some printing done in my basement. And there was a little wiper in the background. And a lot of people were asking, what's that wiper? What's that wiper? And I've always had this plan to mount it the way you've seen it mounted. It was never going to be called SteinWipe at that point, but things kind of evolved, and here we are. And then people wanted the X1 carbon set up, so I was gonna order an X1 carbon just so that we can test this. But then, Fireball reached out, and on a whim, she just gave up her printer, and I've had it for I don't know what has it been like almost 2 months, and for the most part, this printer has just been sitting here. I just fire codes at it because it's got the X1 Plus firmware on it. So it's been really nice to be able to just test something really quick without having to write up a script and then load it on an SD card and then bring it over to the printer. So without getting too much into that, yeah, I wanted to do something special where we do the install together since this was a community project and the community reached out and gave me this printer. So thank you very much, Fireball. And also, there was a special filament that I got for this, and it is nicely dried. So 2% humidity. So this was the Bambu. It's a PETG carbon fiber, and this one matches pretty darn close to the back panel. So that's what we're going to be printing this in today. Uh, it's been drying since this morning, so it should be good. I'll fire it in the AMS and we'll get it calibrated. My cutters. And what we're also going to do is we're going to modify the wiper, something a little bit special here. Fireball has a custom icon. Maybe you can mention to people in the comments there, Fireball, but you have an icon and I'm going to put it on the wiper. So we can do that together in Fusion. I have an idea of how I'm going to go about doing it, but we'll see how it goes. Because when you're working with, funny geometry like images and stuff like that, it can be kind of tough to handle in Fusion. So instead of doing that part in Fusion, I think we'll use Illustrator, and then we'll take it out of Illustrator, bring it to Fusion. We'll put it on this wiper, and we'll get it printed in the machine. And then after that, we'll do the install, and hopefully everything goes well because the owner is watching. All right. So this is in now. I'm going to move over to the computer. Get this locked off. Woohoo! We got 18 viewers. All right. So very first thing we'll do is we'll just calibrate this filament. So it's nice the AMS has recognized it. And maybe I can adjust this a little bit. I've got to come up with a better way for this, but for now this will have to do. All right. It's like half the screen is in focus and the other half is not. But you get the idea. You've all used this. So calibration, we will say auto calibrate. And, oh, I'm on the smooth plate apparently. Oops. There we go. I better check to make sure there's nothing on the bed there. We're good. I realize I could use the camera for that, but when there's a camera in my face, then look for any excuse to get out of the spotlight. uh, while that's calibrating, we'll set up the backing plate. Go to prepare here and resync this. So we'll print this in the carbon fiber as well. When you're placing the backing plate, um, I positioned it when I exported the file, so it should be coming into your slicer in the correct position. But if it doesn't, or sometimes people see that these closed off holes here, they think that this is an error, but it's actually intentional. So um, if I rotate, you'll see that there's open holes on the bottom. And this is so that we can force the slicer to make a bridge, because sometimes it doesn't bridge the way you want, but this kind of makes it do that. So we'll just slice, let's look at the profile first. We'll just slice this with a stock profile and then we'll manipulate it from there. So I will use the 12 millimeter, is what this was designed for. If you're slicing with a profile that is too high on the first layer, you'll notice that the bridges may not appear. So we're going to start with the first layer of 12 as well. All right, so right off the bat, you can see there's some weirdness here because we got a bridge going this way, we got one going this way, and this one's 90 degrees to the first one. So if we slide this down, we can kind of see inside. And we want to try to get these lines so that they're all going the same way. So there's two things you can do. You can play around with, at the bottom here, maybe it's under strength. Okay, here we go. Bridge direction, bridge infill direction. Set that to 45 and see what happens. Okay, so we're going the same direction on all of them now, but we still want to get the bridging going this way. And to do that, I'll just rotate this and see if that fixes us up. Oh, I should have went the other way. And that's better. And I went this direction because now we have the most surface to kind of bridge on. That way we can make sure that we get a good layer before we lay down the top layer. So that's looking pretty good. I'll just scrub through here and see if there's anything else. I'm doing two walls on this as well. This infill, I don't know, I'm not really a big fan of it. So we can, oh, what's the printer doing? Okay, sounded like it hit something. Let's see. When there's big open spaces that need to be capped off, I usually like to have more support underneath, but I also don't want to have a whole lot of infill. So if you use rectilinear, you can have, this is 15%, but look at how close these lines are together. So that just gives us a little bit more support on that bridging layer. So the next thing we need to do Oh, you can also see this patterns change too. So this is more consistent when we're bridging here. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit for you. So this is really consistent now with this first layer that gets closed off. Because before there was all kinds of weird like patches, and then there were some straights, and so this really should help us get a nice clean top layer. You won't see any of those weird sags. So next layer will be where we want to put our pause. We'll just add the pause here. Oh, sorry, and I'm doing that in the corner. So I just right click, and that will, I'm going to try to delete this so it doesn't, there we go. Add pause, if you right click on that, and then it'll show up here. Now before you can send it, you actually have to reslice the plate. That way it inserts that G code for the pause. And we can see by scrubbing through here, we'll just zoom out a little bit, turn on travels. And we can kind of scrub through and see that we're go back one more. Okay, that's all I can see. I was trying to see the header at the top here, but we're in the pause routine now. So at this layer here, it's now pausing. And if we just kind of inch through line by line, we're doing a wipe cycle, and then we're returning to the print. And we'll just zoom in and see how it looks when we're returning to the print. Scrub through a little bit faster here. And there we go. So we're doing our bridging layer. So we did put the pause in the correct spot. I'm pretty happy with that. And we'll just go to the top here. And this is all looking pretty good as well. So this is ready to send now that the machine is calibrating that filament, and this file's ready to go. We'll jump over to Illustrator and get started on that. So we got Illustrator open here and screenshots. So early on, I took this from Discord when Fireball you shared it, and then you were like, how did you get that? I screenshot it because I kind of had this plan all along. So we'll just zoom in here. Now I realize you could probably send me a higher res image of this, but what fun would that be? Let's see if we can use Illustrator to kind of automate some of the process of tracing this out. Oh, there you go. I sent you the vector. I was just looking at that. I'm still going to do it this way. So if we drop that in, there we go. We'll just do image trace and black and white. And maybe a little higher on the threshold. I also like in Illustrator too, because if you can do less pass or less corners, and then it can kind of round things off, because obviously the machine can't handle really sharp edges. It'll just ignore it altogether. But I don't know if this helps any, but it doesn't hurt any, that's for sure. Just get this. There's a little weird bump here. Let's see if I can get rid of that bump. Maybe a little bit of noise. No. We could try snap the curves. No, it's still, I like that a lot less. Still give me that bump. So maybe we'll just fix that afterwards. This is actually looking pretty good. Too much. That looks pretty good right there. All right, now that we have this image traced, we just go up here to Object and what was it? Expand. Okay, so now we've turned this into a vector. It's funny because I keep grabbing my 3D mouse trying to zoom in, so you can tell what program I use the most. If we go to, what is it, properties, actually don't use Illustrator that often. Just give me 1 second, I have to text my wife. All right. We'll turn the fill off and we'll just give it a small, really thin stroke, so maybe like 0.5, 0.05. And if I hit A on the keyboard, I can get rid of these paths here by hitting double delete. All right. See if we can fix this. So A on the keyboard again will let me select the individual paths, and we can delete this. And I don't want to move it. There we go. Let that join. We got this weird little, fix these Beziers here, maybe something like that. Maybe fix this one at the top too. And that's looking pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so we're going to export for screens. So on Mac, it's Command Option E, I believe. Yeah. And we'll set this to SVG. And we'll just call it Fireball. And my desktop is fine. And there it is. Okay. The printer just finished calibrating that filament, so let's have a look. Oh wow, it's 048. That's pretty high. I'm gonna go grab the plate and see what that looks like. I'll bring it over. Wow, this is really matte. I love it. So there we are. It's looking pretty good. I'm gonna scrape this off over the garbage can. I don't know if this is a coincidence, but when I unwrapped that package earlier today, my hand felt kind of itchy, like insulation, like I had my hands in fiberglass insulation, so I don't know if it's this filament that was causing that. So I'm just gonna wear a glove whenever I'm handling this stuff. So if you see gloves on, that's the reason why. I don't know if it's got something to do with the carbon fibers inside the filament. All right. All right, so that's ready to send. Now, I realize we could have just done flow calibration, but I feel like for the amount of time that it takes to set up a filament, especially one that you plan on using, it's nice not to have this flow calibration, which is only calibrating the very first filament in the lineup, so filament 0. So it's nice to have the rest of the filaments not running on default with those calibrations saved in the AMS. So this, I will start with just the AMS. I'm going to leave bed leveling off and dynamics off. And we just got a little bit of notice here that's telling me that there's potential risk with this material with it being brittle. Shouldn't be too bad considering that it was in a 70-degree oven all day. So it should be nice and warm. And it's 10:24 now. So let's see how long it takes for this print to start up. I realize that the bed's already hot, so it shouldn't be too long. It's going to heat the bed to 70 degrees. We're already at 60, so it shouldn't be too long at all. All right, let's jump into Fusion. Now I've got a -5 here, and this one I just, sorry, a -0.5 millimeter offset. And this one I just released the other day because more people are using it than I thought ever would, because I already included an offset, which 0 is basically already the -0.5. But Fireball is going to be using this Revo hot end. And I hear that this Revo hot end is actually got a different offset. So why don't we actually, why don't we get the Mitutoyos out and see if that is true. Let's measure this one first. So let's give this a good little wipe. We're 0. Okay. Very awkward to do with the camera. Kind of off to the side of my head here. Okay. So we're 47.25. I'm actually just going to 0 this. All right. And then we can measure this one this way. And I don't think that's a noticeable difference. I mean, 0.04 of a millimeter. I think it's pretty darn solid, and it's threaded in all the way. So if we 0 this again, we bring this to 0.04. It's a hard one to hit. There, that's 0.04. You can barely see the screen, see the light through it. So pretty darn close. I don't think there's a real difference with this. I think the difference is actually just in the machine itself and maybe how it gets mounted. There's a little bit of variance there. In either case, we'll start with this lower one here, and then we'll work our way up. You know, that gives me some room if I butcher the holes, I guess. Oh, you know, I didn't mean to open that. I wanted to copy it. Copy. And we'll just rename this one. All right, so first thing we need to do is debadge this. Fusion made me update, and now it's forgotten my wireless mouse presets. So my buttons and my mouse does not work the same anymore. A show of hands, how many people get so frustrated with Fusion that you have to update it 3 times a week? And things like this are just constantly happening. Let's see. See where this is on the timeline. If we just click here, and this one's highlighted, so I'm just going to suppress this feature. All right. I really don't want to go in and fix my presets, but I can't zoom with my mouse. This is so frustrating. That'll teach me for doing an update before a live stream. Let's bring in, actually, before I bring this in, let's make an offset plane here. And this plane just be anywhere in front. And then if we click on the plane and then say insert SVG, and we'll do it from my computer. Desktop. Top one. All right. So it came in upside down, which is funny. And Fireball, is that backwards? Oh, I guess it's kind of hard for you to see. Maybe I'll close this side panel. I think that's backwards. Let's turn off some of these other sketches, get the noise out of here. There we go. So we can flip it this way. All right. Scale that up. So I'm looking at orthographic view. So we can really just center this up nicely, and nobody's the wiser. Oh my goodness. It won't let me grab this. What is your problem, Fusion? Okay. I don't know what Fusion's deal is, but it will not let me grab that. So let's try to highlight this here. And you notice that the lines are green right now. Oh, this one isn't even closed off, so we'll have to fix that. So they're fixed. Whenever you bring something in as an SVG, it'll fix it. That way, if you grab a corner or something by accident, it doesn't kind of fly all over the place, because Fusion really likes constraints. So let's try to move this again with the move command. Okay, so now I can move it. And I'm going to try to keep it just below this lip right here. Maybe center it up between this edge and this top lip. And that's looking pretty good there. Okay, so there's that little spot that we fixed. I guess it didn't join. So we can hit the line tool and we can just kind of draw a line around it. And you can see 100% because it filled this area right here, which means that there's a break in this line. So if we go up to, say, break, we can just break this line here, and break it here. And then I'll just delete these lines. We'll just draw a new line in there. And that should close it off. There we go. All right, and one other thing we can do, I'm having such a hard time zooming out here. We can select everything and refix it into place. And then Fusion won't have a panic attack if I accidentally grab one of the nodes. There we go. Okay, turn that sketch back on. Okay, now all we have to do is project this to the surface, and there's a handy tool to do that. If you go into, I believe it's the Create and Emboss, you can select these profiles, and then we can select the face. And you'll see that it follows the contour. So these lines are all perpendicular from the surface, which is a really neat feature. But I think what we want to do is deboss here. And yeah, it's going to look better. And now we'll go maybe 0.3. Try that. It's thinking. There it goes. Yeah, I like that. That looks pretty cool. I wish my 3D mouse worked, but we can go into render. There we go. See what this looks like. Set up some lighting because this lighting is terrible here. I like photo booth. Just highlight those shadows a little bit. And maybe something like that. Let's move this off to the side. All right, we'll let that render for a minute, and then while that's going, we can go over to the printer because that is paused now. You know what? I got a Tilta cage on my camera, so maybe I'll put this handle on the camera and I'll just leave the tripod where it is. Oh no! Okay, it's good. It's good. Okay, Tilta, This is a big fail. It was locked. It was locked in. It felt solid. And then it was like, nope. Maybe it got the Fusion update. Oh man, I hope nobody sees the black box on that one. Okay, I gotta reclip my mic in. Let's try this again. Well, the screen didn't crack. That's a good sign. All right. It feels solid now. I think we're good. I'll get some light on the situation here. Just gonna move the AMS back just a little bit. Can I get this in there? That's looking pretty good. I'm just gonna grab all of these here. So I found, because these are so small and it's really hard to get your hand inside there, and I should have moved it to the front, so that was my mistake. So if at least if it's close to the front, it's easier to do. But if you thread them on to a longer bolt, and then you can kind of stuff them in. Actually, these fit really nice. They don't just drop in, they're slightly tight. And I maybe should have threaded 3 bolts. So this part was already done. Okay. So now if we resume, we can kind of see this in action too. So we're heating up. Okay, there's the factory wipe, and now SteinWipe is taking over. And this is SteinWipe purging. Look at that. I love it when a plan comes together. Is it bridging? It's a little boogery. It's not great, but I think it'll be okay. Oh, there we go. The second one bridged okay. I don't know why it ran so much faster. I think it's going to be okay. The center hole did a good job because it went so much faster, but the outside holes it did not, and I should have checked to see the speeds. And it shouldn't take too long to finish up here. There it goes. And look at that color. I mean, the color is so nice. It's very, very close. Just let it finish doing its filament thing. It's just cooling, I think. Oh wow, it really sticks to the bed. I mean, the bed's hot, but It's very little space, surface, I mean. Look at that, it came out pretty darn nice. Let's kind of look at the color here. Squeeze my phone in. Ah, I forgot about that. Still getting used to it. Oh wow. Yeah, it's pretty good. This side. This sides that aren't so shiny. Wow, I really like this. This is a nice color. Good pick, Fireball. So the steel nuts are now inside here. This is ready to do the install. Let's go back to Fusion, and hopefully my phone doesn't fall when I try to attach this mount. And okay, it's locked. It feels solid, but I guess that doesn't mean anything. And the render's looking pretty good. Lock this caster. Sorry if anybody's getting motion sickness here. Let's try to get this thing adjusted. All right. All right, let's stop this render and go back to design. Should be able to save as mesh. I mean, who knows if something changed. It's going to save to my desktop. And look at that. I'm just going to switch the color of the filament just for a moment, just so we can have something a little bit easier to view. And the big reveal. Oh, grab the wrong node. And look at that. Kind of hard to see, but it's there. So there's a couple ways we can print this. I mean, I think if I print it as is, it will stick to the plate. I mean, I think that I won't have any problems because the plate is very clean. But it is a live stream and I'd like to not have to print it twice. So I think it'll be fun to just paint a few supports into this. Maybe I'll just have the supports come up and kind of go around the bolt holes here. And then that'll kind of guarantee that we don't have any issues with it getting knocked off the bed. It's usually just this top part here when the printer comes to finish this part. If you have any sort of warping, then it can put a little bit of additional stress going down and that knocks it out. So, support painting. And just a couple tiny little spots. I'll make the pen really small here. You notice that these holes are teardrop. So that's so that we get a little bit better bridging in there. And then it kind of forms a more natural looking hole. So I'll just paint inside that teardrop. And maybe I'll come out here just a little bit. And then I'll do the same over here. And maybe just one on the back side should be good. We'll just go for the inside of this hole here. I think that's going to be pretty good. Now if we go to support, enable, and tree manual, build plate only, I mean it will be anyways. Let's see where we're at. I think it looks pretty good. I'll turn off the travels and we'll just see what it looks like on the inside here. We got a small bridge layer here. Oops. Oh, I better delete my old pause. I'll reslice the plate there. We can see that the logo is coming out really nice. And our tree supports are exactly where we want them. And the top surface is looking good. Yeah, I think this is good. Let's send it. Oh, let's make it the right flavor first. It's talking about not doing it twice, so. Just double check nothing changed after changing that filament. All right, and this one also says the offset on the back side as well. So you can see that there. And we will send this. This one says total time is 38 minutes. I think it'll print a little bit faster than that. Not by much, but a little bit. So that gives us a little bit of time here to look at the installation. We can lay out our holes and go over that. Get this up as high as we can here. So I'm going to lift the tripod up first. Looked like it was warping for a second, but it was just a burr. Now, because it's live, it won't let me switch cameras. of course. So I'll try to get you into the action the best I can. Looks pretty good there. Hopefully it stays focused. All right, so this is actually the very first version of this template that I printed, and I've used it twice now. This will be the third time. The holes are still pretty tight on the drill bit too, so let's see. And it's good and solid here. Let's go and mark these holes. Looking good. All right, fireball. No going back. Any last words? I'll bring the light over. Maybe that'll help a little bit. All right. At least I can see what I'm doing. I think that went well. And we'll open the holes up to 1/8. By the way, this first one is 1/16 of an inch. And that finds those center points very, very nice that we put in by hand. And get these out. Oh no, where's my deburring tool? Oh, misplaced. Just take a little bit of that burr off just so that the wiper sits nice and flat. Okay. I always keep this vacuum around for the printers. This was like an Amazon sale and I got it like 4 years ago and it's still going today. It works great for keeping the little bits of filament at bay. I always give the inside of the rails a little vacuum down as well. Get all the bits out of the bottom. There we go, tidy, tidy. All right, now the camera's kind of where I would like to be. but I'll do my best not to drop this. If you got really big hands, you can just put some tape around your fingers that'll stick to the backing plate, and then it won't drop by accident. So we'll just thread in that center screw just to hold it in place, and we'll leave it loose, and then we'll line up the two outside holes, and this will make sure that it's level, and these outside holes are going to line up. And now we'll tighten down the center, and make sure that you don't over tighten. You just want to make it snug so it's not going to come loose and it's not going to teeter. If you start to over tighten it, it'll bend in the center, causing the outsides to kind of go out, and then you'll have a hard time getting your screws to line up. And that's it. Holes are installed or drilled. Backing plate is installed. Oh, by the way, the center screw is a 6 mil, so it's a M3 by 6, and the outside, these ones are an 8 mil, so M3 by 8. So you need 2 of those, and then 1 of the M3 by 6. And I'm just going to put this spare wiper that I have here on here, and we'll just make sure everything fits nice. It feels like I'm right center on that hole. I can move it a little to each side. So that's a good sign. Leave that screw loose for a second. So if you have your holes perfectly center, you should be able to move it up. You should be able to move it slightly down, but you should be able to move it a little bit side to side. But if you feel it's binding on either one way, then you know that your holes were not drilled in the correct spot. And it's not really a big deal. You could open up this hole. You could open this up to, let's say, even 3/16. As long as the backing plate stays in place, it'll just be a little bit of a challenge to try to get that plate tightened down in the correct position. That way, this top part of the wiper is resting on the top plane here, and it's pushed all the way to the side, and you're not putting any additional stress on the screws. Because the idea with these screws is that you can take the screws out, remove the wiper, put on a new wiper that's already on a new plate, and just screw it back in, and the positioning will be perfect. You don't want to have to go run a calibration and figure out where your position is. And speaking of that, so the original the original wipe cycle did a couple things. So we did some X sweeping. So it was going side to side on the X, and then it would go back and then use the back side to side. And then it would kind of, I was calling it a scrub, where it would go in between and it would kind of work its way in between each one of these little nubs. And that's the part that it really became critical to get these wipers dialed in perfectly. Because if it's off 0.5 millimeter, then you're basically shearing the nubs off with the nozzle tip. So in the newest release, I did some experimenting, and I found that with the amount that you run the wiper, you really don't need to get that aggressive with the scrubbing. The scrubbing was only really necessary on the earlier releases because we didn't have the AMS stuff set up yet. So we were just running the scrub on the startup routine, and then it wouldn't scrub again until the next print. So we were taking full advantage of having that wiper there to get the most scrubbing possible. So now all we're doing in this recent update is we're just sweeping on the X, and then we're step on the end of the wiper, we'll step up, and then we'll sweep on the X again, and then we'll step down and we'll sweep on the X again, and that's the wipe routine. So now it's not overly critical for the X positioning, but it is critical on the Y positioning, but not as critical as it would have been on the X. So as long as you're within 0.5 millimeter, I don't think you're going to have any issues. You almost probably don't even need to run the calibration, but we'll do it anyways just for good measure. So the nice thing about this printer with the touchscreen, I'm going to reposition you guys here in a moment. Just bring up the tools here. Just don't want to show the printer's login. We can say on-screen console, and now we can actually just fire some G-codes in here. So we can test the positioning just by doing that. So right off the hop, we want to home the X and the Y, so that'll be G28, X, and we don't need to home the Z, so we'll just leave it at G28X. And now if we bring the head all the way over to the end, and I actually can't remember the wiper position. What is it? X1 SteinWipe? Let's check here. See, filament change code. Let's look at the start routine. All right, so it was 161.3 and 261.3. So if we do the X first, so we'll say G0, X, 161.3, and that'll bring the head over. And now we'll bring the Y, so it'll be G0. And by the way, G0 and G1 work the exact same. I just prefer G0 because when I program at work, generally anything that's a G0 command is something that I wrote. That way, when I'm looking at my script, I see that G0, then I know that it's probably something that I put in there. So Y, 261.3. All right. We could have sped it up by putting an F value after, but at least we're in the right spot. And now try to go handheld again here. I guess my handle's in the wrong spot, so that's going to come off. All right. It's going to be very awkward to try to get in there with all the attachments. But we'll see if we can sneak you guys in there. It might help to get this shroud off. Oh no, can't get it off. Should have taken it off first. It's kind of hard to tell. So I think I have to get that shroud off before I can actually get a good visual on it. Okay, the people that engineered this phone case and this tripod mount clearly did not use it. This is really difficult to get it to snap in. Are you kidding me? There we go. So let's move that Y back. So I'm just going to type in here G0, Y, say 100. Should be able to get this off now. I'll probably take the sock off too. There we go. Now we'll move it back. Oh, I'll show you guys this too. This is kind of neat. So it gives you a history of the commands that you sent to. So we can see this command, this one right here. First, I need to delete. But this one right here was the first Y position. Oh no, you have to tap history, that's right. So there it is. And then you can send this and it'll go back. It's really awkward to type on the touch screen, but you can connect to the screen through screen sharing with the built-in Mac screen sharing, and it actually works where you can use your keyboard. So that's pretty much what I was using when I was testing commands, trying to figure out what was what. And now I got this little nozzle poker here, and I'm just going to lay that inside the grooves, or sorry, inside the wiper, and use this almost as a pointer, just so that you guys can see on the camera the position. I wonder if that'll help. All right, here we go again, freehand it. Oh, before we do that, we should probably check on this print. See how we're looking over here. Looking pretty good. That logo looks damn sharp in there. Sticks out very, very well. It's good contrast. I like it. Okay. And can I get in there? Because of the orientation of my phone, I almost have to hold it this way. And YouTube's giving me an error that says I can't put my phone that way. I can't get the camera kind of in line, but I can tell you with my eye, it is looking pretty darn lined up. So the needle is basically right under the tip of the nozzle. And that's really, with the newest update, that's really the only thing we have to check is just the Y-axis. So you want to make sure that the Y-axis is in the right spot. The X-axis, there's some headroom on both sides. I believe 5.5 millimeters on each side. So as long as you're within 5.5 millimeters on the X-axis, then you're definitely going to be good. And if you're outside of that, then there's something else going on, and maybe you should put down the drill. All right. Oh my goodness. This is too challenging. All right, my dog is howling So I'm going to leave you guys here for a moment and let the dog out. And when I come back, hopefully this is done and not knocked off the bed. There we go. All right, I'll be back in a few moments. And we're back. There's a little bit of stringing on the top of this. And it's not from the bridging layer or anything, but I hope it doesn't cause a problem. I am just using the stock profile because I've never printed with this, but that surface quality looks fantastic. It looks really sharp. And it's got kind of the same texture as the back plate as well. This might be a sleeper wiper. Okay, here we go. There's a bridging layer here. So all those little strings that are sticking up are actually getting knocked down right now, which is good. This is probably a good spin. After it did that first bridging layer, all those little strings started to attach to the nozzle, and that would have been a really good time to actually do a wipe cycle. So the newest update will have an option to do an automatic wipe cycle as long as there's a bridging layer, and it'll do that for the whole layer. So if there's some buildup on those longer layers, that's you're doing that bridging, that's pretty typical for PETG, then you don't have to go and program a manual wipe, which would have entailed you going into the material, going into by layer, and then there was a spot where you can put in the layer that it's going to do the wipe. So you don't have to do that anymore in the next update. It's going to do it automatically, as long as you turn the option on. Wow, this is looking really good. I think there's like 3 minutes left. A little bit more stringing and some noise on that top layer. Hopefully it gets concealed. Yeah, without a doubt, this material definitely needs a few wipes in between because I can see it starting to build up on the nozzle already. And it doesn't get any drier than this either. I think it was like 2%, 3% humidity when I took it out of the chamber. So, all right. Let's just move this over here. This is actually my trick for cooling the bed plate really fast. I just set it on the glass. And it really does stick on there pretty good. So this is just a little bit of, I don't know, I think it was just the strings that were underneath this layer that caused some of the strings to come up. I think it's okay. If I was to print it again, maybe a wipe cycle just before this layer would definitely help. And then you could probably make an extra 2 or 3 top layers. But yeah, this came out really nice. This material is just gorgeous. It's another little spot here. That one just breaks off. I gotta say that logo looks so good too. Okay, so next, spray some cancer on this. So, famous promoter here. This is the real reason I'm wearing the gloves. So just make the material nice and tacky. You can see it does eat it pretty good. And then we can stick the wiper on. I saw somebody posted today in SteinWipe, and the new wipers from Bambu all come on a single sheet. So that's kind of great. You know, have an easier time drilling the holes than sticking the wiper down. That came out really nice. Other than the little garbage that's back there, but at least the wiper kind of hides it. I'm very impressed with the texture on this. This does not look 3D printed, unless you see the top, but when you see it from this angle, there are virtually no layer lines, and it looks injection molded. And it's got kind of this almost this sparkle to it. Very nice. Let's put it on. Oh, I just saw your message pop up there, Fireball. You know what? You can have this spool. I'll give it to you. Thank you so much for your service. It's my gift to you. I mean, besides the wiper. All right. Big moment to see how it fits. Is that in the way? Better. That's better. All right. It's almost the same color as the door for the filter. It's very, very close. But it's good and solid. It almost feels like, yeah, I think this is causing slight interference. I could probably leave it, but inside this hole, there's a tiny, tiny little string. I think it's just hitting the screw. But other than that, it's no other burrs. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it fits perfect now. A little more light. And trying to move these Z rods back. I don't know why I said Z rods. X rods. Hey, that looks really good. All right, Fireball, do you approve? With all this pressure, I think we got it done. Nice and straight. You can see, look at this line right here. As I move the camera down, it stays nice and parallel. I think this thing's in the perfect position. So that's a win for this new template V2. This thing works terrific. And this is probably a good segue to introduce something else that I'm going to be offering. Because there are a lot of people who do want SteinWipe, but they really don't want to put holes in their machines. So yeah, there's a tape-on version coming that also includes bolts. So the tape-on portion will be behind this wiper, and then the wiper will bolt to it, and it'll kind of conceal the part that's taped on. So that's all I'll say for now, but I think it's going to be probably more popular than what this is already. So yeah, guys, that was fun. Let me get remounted here, and we'll sign. Well, that went really smooth other than Fusion 360, and I knew it as soon as I clicked update, but it just kept nagging me, and I said, "No, I'll just update it. It'll be fine." But nope, my 3D mouse does not work, and I don't know how to navigate without the mouse. So, other than that, though, it was great. I mean, everything went smooth. Holes went in the right spot, even with all that pressure fireball. The print came out great on the first try. Just a few little things I would tweak, and no complaints here. So, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Happy printing.